always do what is beneficial for yourself and others. That's law 12. So, would you classify yourself as an abusive person? Mostly those who are diagnosed with CPTSD or even self-diagnosed as complex trauma, those who have been abused as children, do not get classified as abusers. In fact, they don't have a history of abusing people, but they tend to overlook a case of abuse that most are guilty of, and that abuse is self-abuse. So now, including yourself, I ask you again, are you an abusive person? Unfortunately, someone in the chat said, yeah. Unfortunately, it's a reality that you are a person. And so in order to not be an abusive person, you have to not abuse anyone. And that's the goal we want to strive toward. That's the goal we want to strive toward. Not just I don't abuse other people. That's not where all the nobility is. Because if you're abusing yourself, it is equally a crime on the moral universal law and scheme of things. It's not like, oh, this is less of a crime because I just did it to me. Don't worry, everyone. I just neglected my own self. I just forgot to feed my own self. I just abused me. I just overlooked my own needs. I just failed to advocate for me. Well, arguably, that's some of the worst abuse and neglect. Because when you neglect your own needs and you fail to advocate for your own self, you're failing to advocate, you're neglecting, you're abusing the one person who the universe has entrusted to you for life. Some of us have children, and so we had to be responsible for these children for a period of time. Let's call it 18 years. So for a period of time, while that child is developing, we had to take on the responsibility of advocating for it, defending it, feeding it, and not abusing that child. And most of us did pretty okay at that. Most of us did pretty okay at that. But you need to apply all of those same rules to yourself. This is a universal law. Because with the kid that's only with you until you're 18, they're just under your stewardship for a limited amount of time. But when it comes to you, you're with you forever. So it's your responsibility to take care of you. When you fail to take care of yourself, you become a liability. And that's how serious it is. Can you understand? You understand what I mean by that? When you fail to care for yourself, you now become a liability to us, to the rest of the community. So you might say, well, it was just me. It wasn't a big deal that I didn't care for myself. Yeah, but look at what happens when you don't care for yourself. Then you become sick, and then the community has to step in and care for you. Then you don't do well for yourself financially, and the community has to step up and take care of you. Then you become mentally ill, and the community has to step in and take care of you. You become at risk for suicide, and the community has to come in and take care of you. You become malnourished, the community has to come in and take you. You understand, you always will become a liability when you fail to care for yourself. So how did we get here? Well, we sort of adopt programs from the way that we're raised. And so when you're raised with parents that are really good at being there for you, providing for your emotional needs, then you're more likely to be a person who has that subconscious program to care for themselves and to provide for their own emotional needs. It's not guaranteed, but hopefully if you have parents that do that well for you as a child, then you're more likely to do that well for yourself. Emotional needs are like telling the children positive thoughts about themselves and the world around them. You can do it. I believe in you. I love you. I'm proud of you. It's going to be okay. You're going to get through this. You're strong. You're so talented. You're smart. The parents should repeatedly tell their children this. How often? How much? Children should be hearing this on a constant basis, many times throughout the day. Now, how much did you hear it as a child? How much were you soothed by your parents? How much did they tell you they loved you and build you up and told you they believed in you? For some of us, not enough. Maybe only one time a day, maybe even less. Some of our parents actually went against that. They told us just the opposite. I don't trust you. I don't believe in you. You're not good for anything. Or they gave the impression that the child was only worthy or worthwhile if the child was performing or doing something that the parent found to be valuable. But that's a false impression because the child's worth is not contingent on what the child does, right? So if you were raised by someone who is either abusing or neglecting you, even in the slightest way, it could have been a great household on the outside, but inside the home, you just didn't get the emotional support that you personally needed. But that may be what's contributing to this subconscious program now where you're not giving yourself what you need. But it doesn't matter at this point. It doesn't matter why you came up with the program of being a self-abuser and a self-neglector. That's not what's important right now, because this is about healing. To heal means to be made new again, to be made healthy. And so whether you are an adult who had perfectly emotionally providing parents or you're an adult who didn't have that, you still have the same task at hand, which is to not be an abuser of the self. So what's holding you back? What's making you keep doing things that are to your detriment instead of to your benefit? Well, for many, it's impulsivity, right? They do things without thinking about them. They have urges, and so they act on their urges, and they're trying to self-gratify, but they do it on a way that's going to be harmful in the long run. Okay? Impulsivity, impulsivity is self-abuse, right? You don't give in to every child's impulse if you're caring for a child that you love, right? The child says, I want to eat ice cream for dinner. You don't go, that's a great idea. Throw all the vegetables in the trash and then shove the ice cream in the child's face. Do it again the next night. Do it again the next night. Hey, whatever. We got to go with what we feel, man. You don't do that when you raise a child, do you? No. Why? Because you love the child and you're not going to neglect the needs of the child. So you say things to the child like, okay, I understand you want ice cream right now, but we can't always have what we want when we want it. So here's what I need you to do. Eat your peas, and then maybe we can get some ice cream later. Something like that, right? Why'd you do that? Why'd you make them eat the peas? Because that's love. And that's why you have to make yourself eat the peas too. So what are your peas? Going to the gym? Got to make yourself do it. Getting some kind of exercise, going out, going for a walk, you got to make yourself do it. Is it watching my videos every day that you're supposed to be doing? You got to make yourself do it. Is it setting that appointment with your trauma specialist that you're supposed to be doing? You got to make yourself do it. You got to make yourself eat the peas. It's not all about the feelings in the moment. The impulsivity is a form of neglect, just like you would be neglecting that child to give in to the child's every impulse. I don't want to go to bed. Oh, okay. Is that what you said to your children when they said they don't want to go to bed? They're 4 years old. I don't want to go to bed. Oh, well, don't let me bother you. You stay up as long as you want to. Is that how you raised your kids? Absolutely not, because that would be neglectful. And so instead, you would painstakingly kept trying to work with them, kept trying to get them in bed, kept trying to negotiate that bedtime. You kept trying to get them to go to sleep because you love them, regardless of how hard it was. So what's the bedtime that you're neglecting? Is it starting that YouTube channel? Is it starting your dream business? Is it getting that divorce that you need to get from your narcissistic spouse? What are you neglecting that you need to do for yourself? Give that some thought. Because if you fail to do it, you are neglecting the self, and then we're in violation of the law. Always do what is beneficial to yourself and others. Now, for many people, it's the emotional instability, the difficulty regulating emotions. When we have CPTSD, we experience intense, rapid shifting emotions, and it feels overwhelming and difficult to manage. And regulating our emotions is challenging, and we have heightened emotional sensitivity, right? Does that sound like you? And so you don't know how to modulate your emotional responses. As a result, you struggle to cope with stress or distress in healthy ways, and that makes you impulsive or self-destructive. Does that sound like you? If you have emotions like sadness, anger, anxiety, it could result in maladaptive coping mechanisms, self-harm, self-abuse, substance abuse. One woman told me, she said, just the pain was so much, the pain inside my body is so much that I just didn't know what to do. And I took a piece of glass and I just wanted to cut my skin. It was like the release of endorphins and the blood flow was like a release of the pain. She was living at home with her narcissistic mother. She's an adult. If we analyze it logically, move out. It's more beneficial than violating your person, your corpus, by putting a cut in your skin and letting the blood flow out. That's not respectful. That's not respectful on any level. You're not respecting your blood, your soul, your body, which is all a disrespect to God. And you're doing that why? Because your emotions, you don't know what to do with the emotions. Analyze what logical steps can I take that are beneficial for me and everyone else? Because if she had been successful in her attempt, or if that self-harm had gone wrong, she could have injured herself in such a way where she would now become a liability on the community. She would end up hospitalized, or even worse, dead. And there's no worse way you can be more of a liability than to just leave your carcass lying around just due to your pure neglect of yourself. You could have just moved out of your mom's house, but that was too hard. So now this, let's get logical. Let's get logical and let's get in control. It is a law of the universe that you have the responsibility to care for yourself. It's not something that's beyond your ability. It's not outside of your comprehension. You can do it, and we can help. That's why you're here in this community. Sometimes our self-esteem is so low that we just don't love ourselves. We don't feel that we're even worthy of giving ourselves the love. We don't believe that we deserve better. So we look for forms of self-punishment, and then that manifests itself in the self-harm or the self-sabotage. Right? But whatever it is that's stopping you from always doing what is beneficial to yourself, you must learn to remember this law. You must memorize it because it needs to permeate everything you do from the moment you wake up in the morning to the moment you go back to sleep at night. Always do what is beneficial for yourself and others. Always do what's beneficial for yourself and others. This type of harmony is taught by all the great teachers. Gandhi, Buddha. Wasn't it Jesus that said the second greatest command in the universe is to love your neighbor as you love yourself? That as denoting like, so you're supposed to have two loves on that second command. Love for your neighbor predicated on love for yourself, which means that you must have love for yourself in order to properly love the neighbor. In other words, he's saying what? Always do what is beneficial for you and the others. That's what love is. Love is a decision, it's a choice to think about and focus on everything that's beneficial towards that target. So, how do you self love? You think about and do everything that is beneficial toward yourself. That's self love. That's how we overcome. We cultivate self love by focusing on everything that we love about ourselves, that we appreciate about ourselves, that we appreciate about being ourselves. And then we do everything that's beneficial for the self. Well, but I don't know how to do that. Yes, you do, because you did it with your kids. And if I gave you a kid right now, you would do it with that kid. So even if you never had kids, even if you never had any children, you know how to care for a child, because if I dropped a child on your doorstep right now, you would suddenly just lock into this ability. You would just become this super dad, super mom, right? I was like, hey, do you need anything? I got food here. We got, hey, sit down. Hey, don't worry about anything. We got this. Next thing you know, you'd be enrolling them in school. You're reading them books. You're doing all this stuff. Why are you doing all this for this kid? Why? What's the reason? He just showed up on your doorstep. I just brought the kid to you right now. Why do you naturally lock into doing everything that's beneficial? Answer the question. I really want to know. Why do you lock into doing everything that's beneficial toward that child? As you search deep inside yourself for this answer, you will come to a basic conclusion, and I'll put it in my own words for you, because it's hard to put into words. You are making a choice to do this for them. You're being responsible. You're saying, hey, this is a kid, and I have power here. And so I'm choosing to use my power toward the benefit of this human. That's what it comes down to. It's just that simple. You're choosing to you recognize responsibility. You say, hey, this is just a kid, right? So you see, that means I have power over this child, and I'm choosing to use my power to the benefit of the child. Do you know what that is? That is love. That's what love is. It's choosing to use your power toward the benefit of something. That's love. It's a choice. It's a decision. So choose to love the self. Don't say, yeah, I just don't love me. You wouldn't say that in front of that child, would you? If I said, hey, why didn't you make the child something to eat? You wouldn't say, I just don't love the child. You wouldn't say that in front of a child. You know why? Because you would recognize instinctually that that's harsh, that's abusive, that could hurt the child. Just to say that in front of them. So don't say that about yourself. Stop it. Don't think that. Why can't you think it? Because you have a child to care for. Your inner child is you inside of you. There's an inner child. There's a subconscious mind just sitting there, eating up, drinking up everything that you're thinking, everything that you're saying. It hears you all the time. Your brain is listening. So you have to care for that brain. You have to care for that inner child. You have to care for that subconscious. Your soul is in your hands. And so what are you going to do? Say mean things like, I just don't love it? Don't do that, because it can hear you. Step up and take responsibility. Recognize your power. Recognize your power. One of the keys to getting out of our impulsive, self-destructive behavior is to stop being guided by feelings, because our feelings will be self-destructive every time. I don't know if you guys remember, it was a few weeks ago. I said I wanted to try to understand what it felt like to be guided by my feelings, right? So I paused and tried to meditate on it. I tried to bring my mind there, and through meditation, transmutation, I got myself to a point, and I thought about, how do I feel right now? If I just did what I feel right now, what would I do? And it was like, oh, I wouldn't do the call tonight. Why would I do Mindset Monday? I don't feel like doing Mindset Monday tonight. I'm in a mood right now. I'm in a mood. I don't feel like doing it. That was the first thing that came to my head. If you follow the emotions, it will always lead to you doing something destructive in your life. The formula is really that simple. If I don't do Mindset Monday, then I don't show up. What happens if I just don't show up to this? Well, then it would be destructive because then you guys would come and you would go, oh, that's weird. He just didn't show up. And then that would create unreliability. Then you wouldn't come anymore. Eventually, you stop coming if I keep doing things like that because it's not reliable. And therefore, all of this falls apart and it gets destroyed, which will then destroy my goals, my dreams, my purpose, my business. It will also destroy other people's lives, by the way, who are relying on me. And all of that destruction, where did that come from? When I'm working at Home Depot one day with all of this potential of what I could have been doing, where did all that destruction come from? Me following my feelings. And that's the formula that you've been using for your life. Cut it out. Don't follow your feelings. Do not follow your feelings. Don't say, well, but I don't feel like I love myself. Wake up. Don't follow the feelings. You follow the laws. Follow the laws of the universe. The law of the universe is always do what is beneficial toward yourself and others. What's holding you back? Fear of abandonment? That's feelings. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's doing what you must do in the face of fear. So we step up and we don't worry about whether someone's going to reject us. In fact, we embrace the fact that we will be rejected and we walk right into as much rejection as is necessary for us to accomplish our goals. So we go out, we get rejected at work, and we get rejected in sales, and we get rejected on the sales floor. We get rejected when we get home, and we get rejected in our relationships, and we do rejection. We don't run from rejection. We don't fear rejection. We do rejection. And we reject people too. And through that process, what happens? We start moving through numbers, and you give that a few months of going out and going into the rejection. What are you going to have? You're gonna have some really solid connections in your life. You're gonna go, oh my God, how did I get so many good connections in my life? Oh, it's because you stopped running from rejection. Don't follow the feelings. Don't follow the feelings. Don't follow the fear. Follow the laws. So what's stopping you from doing what is beneficial for yourself? Impulsive behavior, acting without considering the consequences. When you know what is right to do, but you don't do it, that's the definition of foolishness. So is that what you aspire to be, a fool? Of course not. So let's do the opposite. Definition of wisdom is knowing what to do and doing it. That's wisdom. So simple. Wisdom is so simple. It's you already know what to do, so you're halfway wise. When you apply it, when you actually do it, then you are truly wise in a complete sense. How do we do that? How do we make the connection between what we know we should do and what we do? It's by skipping over that bridge, that mountain of the feelings. I know what I should do, but I don't feel like it. Okay, but I'm going to do the right thing anyway. I'm going to summon the courage. I'm going to summon the focus, the determination to make a decision to eat the peas despite the fact that I don't feel like it right now. What's the secret? Meditation. Just meditation. That's all. We just need to slow down. Just need to pause. Is it that simple? Is it really that simple? Yeah, think about your life. Think about the lack of meditation that you've had throughout your life, just trying to survive, living in constant anxiety and fear. It's a lack of meditation. Just pause and think, analyze, and then do courage, what you ought, despite the feelings, despite the fear. So what's holding you back? Is it your intense mood swings and difficulty stabilizing your own emotions, going from one extreme of happiness to deep sadness and anger in a short period of time? Pause and meditate. You can allow the surge of chemicals and emotions to go through you without taking any action. Don't take any action, right? the actions that you do could sabotage your life. So we want to make sure we're not just doing things based on how we feel in the moment that aren't going to be good for the long term. So what's stopping you? Thoughts of self-harm, suicidal ideation, using self-harm as a way to cope with emotional pain, a way to express your feelings. It's doing what's detrimental to yourself and others. Make the decision to pause, meditate when you feel upset. There's often simple solutions, like moving out of your mother's house. There's often simple solutions, like leaving the narcissistic spouse. There's often simple solutions. Not easy, not easy, but simple. Better, more beneficial than cutting your flesh, than living a life of debauchery, going out, using substances and abusing substances. There's a lot of times there's a simple solution. If we just drive toward the simple, clean, beneficial solution, then we won't need to cope with all the emotions. So what's holding you back? Are you a dissociator, someone who takes reality, puts it over there, they dissociate themselves and they feel like they're over here, just floating through life? Use meditation to wake yourself up, become conscious again, and make decisions that are going to be to your benefit. Law number 12 is highly important. The world becomes a better place if everyone is doing what's beneficial to themselves and others. Loving another person as you love yourself is the right way. For those of you empaths here who are like, I'm really great at loving other people, I just don't do it well for myself, you're not doing it the right way. You're not even loving other people properly because you're not predicating it on love for yourself. You're doing it wrong. If you're a Christian, you're like, I'm good at caring for other people. You're doing it against the way Jesus said to do it. You're saying, I care for others, not myself. But he didn't say to do that. He didn't say, and the second greatest command, love others instead of yourself. He didn't say to do that. So you're doing it wrong. It's a sin. Fix it. Get it right. Love yourself so that you can love others as you love yourself. Now you know how to do it properly. Does that make sense? Great. So now the next time I come on here and I ask you, are you an abuser? Ideally, you're going to be able to say, absolutely not. I would never abuse anyone. And of course, I would never abuse myself either.